It's not actually presumptuous at all to ask a human being for a meeting. It's not presumptuous. You're just the new guy. You're taking proactive measures. You're being a leader in how you show up at the organization, in how you're being perceived at this company, and you're not waiting until your performance review to begin advocating.
Welcome to Women Changing Leadership. I am your host, Stacy Mayer, and I teach you how to get promoted, get paid, and bring your whole self to the leadership table. I am on a mission to change organizations from the C-suite out because women are the new face of leadership, and we are doing it on our terms.
Hello, corporate badasses. Welcome to another episode of Women Changing Leadership. I am your host, Stacy Mayer, and super excited to be here with you again this week. Today's episode was inspired by a training I did earlier this week. I did a paid intensive for my clients. If you're not already on my email list, I suggest you join, because even if you're not actively working with me one-on-one or inside my Women's Leadership Accelerator, you can actually begin to start joining these paid intensives on a one-to-one basis, right? You can choose which topic fits your needs that month, and you are welcome to hop in anytime for a very, very, very small fee, so that you can come in and begin to work with me more closely and the women inside of my community. So make sure, if you're not already there, that you go to stacymayer.com/email or follow me on LinkedIn so that you can be the first to know whenever I am offering another paid intensive. So these are actually going to be happening a lot over the next few weeks. So make sure you go to stacymayer.com/email and join me today. So last week's paid intensive was about my 30, 60, 90-day plan to set yourself up for future success in your career. So every single one of you has a 30, 60, 90-day plan, I hope, whenever you start a new role, right? Usually it's dictated by your boss, or it might be something that you create and come up with yourself. I've actually been working with a lot of clients on creating a 90-day plan, even for the interview process, right? So they can really present, this is how I'm going to begin the role, and really get you some quick wins right out of the gate. But there's also a 30, 60, 90-day plan that you need to create for success in your career. And I think a big mistake that a lot of women make is that they wait a little bit too long to begin to think about their promotion process, meaning they wait an entire year or 2 years in the role, and then they say, oh, now I'm going to start advocating for my promotion. But if you've been following me for more than a minute, you know that my promotion process happens all the time. Always be interviewing, always be advocating, always be putting yourself out there, so that when opportunities present themselves, then you can capitalize on them, right? So this is my framework. This is my way of thinking. And it's also the success framework that all of my clients use. So if you start to begin to shift that mentality, then in the first 90 days, you're going to be setting yourself up for future success. I prefaced all of this by telling these women, hey, we're not looking to get a promotion in the first 90 days. Instead, we're setting ourselves up for that promotion at the year mark, because it's never guaranteed, right? You know that it's not guaranteed to get a promotion at your performance review. Absolutely not. So then what can you do in those first 30, 60, 90 days to set yourself up for success? The reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is because, one, I want you to join us for our future paid intensives. These are really great hands-on, very small group experiences where you're going to get a lot of guidance and feedback in a short amount of time for a very affordable price. And also so that you can begin to reframe how you're thinking about your next 90 days, whether you just started a new role, you're been in this role for 5 years, or you're thinking about your next role, how you want to set yourself up. And a topic that came up at the very beginning of the call is one of the women said, well, that is very presumptuous. Okay, so she said, and I think what we were talking about was scheduling meetings with important people at our organization. We just started working there. We're going to reach out to senior executive leaders in other departments and schedule 15-minute ally meetings. And of course, her response was, that's very presumptuous. And I was like, well, yeah, but that's okay. And then I went on to explain a little bit more why. And a couple of times throughout the call, I kept saying, yep, and this is presumptuous too. Yep, and this is presumptuous too. And that's okay. But I don't want to just tell you, hey, do it anyway. It doesn't matter if it's presumptuous. Do it anyway. Put yourself out there, right? So I don't believe in that philosophy. I don't think women just, quote unquote, need to speak up more. I think we need to do things in a stealthier way so that we can not hold ourselves back, but also that doesn't mean going to the extreme. So I decided to do an entire podcast episode today on being more presumptuous in a way that actually works for us. So I want you to start practicing being a little bit more presumptuous, but only in certain areas. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit more what that means. But the first thing that I did is, I started to think about the word presumptuous, what it means to be presumptuous. And I actually looked up the definition of presumptuous. And then, of course, you know how it comes up on the, Google dictionary, all the synonyms that are very similar to presumptuous. So I'm just going to read this out to you. And I just want you to understand that the idea of being presumptuous sucks, right? So I just want to cement why it can feel so awful, especially as a woman who has feelings and really wants, to care about her work and really wants to be seen in a certain way and wants her work to matter, actually cares about the perception that she has at her organization. To be presumptuous can mean that you're brazen, these are literally all the words that are right here. Brazen, overconfident, arrogant, egotistical, overbold, bold, audacious, forward, impertinent, insolent, impudent, cocksure. Oh my God. Cheeky, rude, impolite, uncivil. I've only read half of them. This is horrible. I can't even say all of these words. I don't want to be any of these things. I definitely don't want you to be brazen, overconfident, arrogant, egotistical. Look at your leadership table right now. It's full of those people, right? If that's what it's going to take to get you promoted into senior executive leadership, I don't want any part of it. Okay? And so the idea that you just need to be more presumptuous and screw it, do it anyway, is not interesting to me. But what I would love to show you today is that some of these things that we're doing, that we're thinking are presumptuous, are not actually that presumptuous. They don't make us brazen, overconfident, arrogant, egotistical, and so on. And I'll show you why. So before I get into that, I want to share with you some of the things that I actually think are a bit presumptuous of you. So I already spoke to one of them. It is absolutely 150% presumptuous to think that you deserve a promotion at the end of the year. To think that because you've worked at your company for 5 years, because you've worked in your position for 5 years, that you deserve a promotion at your performance review. That's presumptuous, right? And that can feel really crappy because you're like, but I do deserve a promotion, right? But what happens is if you wait until your performance review to advocate for your promotion and they're not giving it to you and you're arguing with them about it, you know what? You're going to come off as brazen, arrogant, overconfident, only caring about the title, feeling like your boss thinks that you're very presumptuous, right? And they'll say things to you like, well, somebody else was in line, or, well, we have a hiring freeze, or, well, the organization's not making very much money right now, so you're just going to have to wait and see. So we can feel incredibly presumptuous to bring it up at that time, right? Yet, you guys are more than willing to argue at your promotion time for a promotion. So a lot of times, I want you to think about this. It's presumptuous to do this. It actually, I feel, it is presumptuous. You do come off that way to argue at performance review time, to think, I was head down doing my work. I never had a development conversation with you the entire year. I never made sure that I was doing the right things. I never had conversations about what I wanted to do next, how I wanted to grow on the team. And then when performance review comes around, I'm mad about it. Now, listen to all the words I said. Let's say that you did have those conversations. You did set yourself up. You did have these development conversations. Your boss did promise you a promotion at the end of the year, and then you don't get it. Well, now you have the right to be upset, right? And at the end of the day, what can you control? Well, you can leave, right? And hopefully you have set yourself up so that you have other opportunities. Like, I'll give you an example of one of my clients who that exact same thing happened, right? So she had been having development conversations with her boss. She had made allies across the organization, and her boss still wasn't giving her promotion. He was still dangling a carrot in front of her saying, just wait 6 more months, just wait 6 more months. And at some point she went out and found another role, right? And her boss was like, "What? I told you to wait 6 more months." And she's like, "Well, I have other things to do." Right? And that's really amazing, right? So she's not making it her boss's problem to give her a promotion. She was very, very clear about what she wanted, the value that she brought. Other leaders at the organization were advocating for her, and they still weren't able to support her in the ways that she needed and the impact that she wanted to make at her company. And so she walked, right? That's totally fine. And that's available to you. It's also incredibly presumptuous to think that you deserve to be invited to the management team meetings. So this happens for my clients all the time. Why shouldn't I be in that meeting? I'm like, well, are you in the C-suite? No, but I should be in that meeting. I'm the lead on this project, or I should be presenting it instead of my boss. I came up with all the ideas. In some ways, that's presumptuous of you to think that you deserve to be presenting at that meeting. Now, can I help you set up ways so that you can present at that meeting anyway, or so that you can be included in the management team meetings even when you're at the director level? Absolutely, 150%. But you have to know that just feeling like you deserve it, like they owe it to you, is presumptuous, right? Anything where you feel like they owe it to you or like you've put in the work and this isn't fair is typically presumptuous. And any way that you ask for it very directly like that is going to come off as arrogant, brazen, so on, right? So you want to be really careful because this is these extremes, right? That we as women in leadership tend to live in, which is that we don't speak up, we don't speak up, we don't speak up, and then we speak up. And then we're told that we're too aggressive, right? And so I'm not interested in playing that game. And instead, what I do is I have these conversations all along the way. So now I'm going to go into what type of conversations and activities are not presumptuous at all, right? And the good news is that even if maybe in your mind you think that they're a little bit presumptuous, like for instance, so let's go back to my 30-day plan where we're going to reach out to senior executive leaders across the organization who we've never met before. We've only been there for 5 days at the company. And we're like, well, that's very presumptuous that we think that they're going to meet with us. And in some ways that's true. Like, let's say you reach out to those leaders and they don't meet with you, and then you get really annoyed. And then you're like, oh, this is just going to be a terrible job because that senior executive leader in Joe Blow department doesn't want to meet with me. It's like, well, they don't know you or care about you, and there's no reason that they should meet with you, so don't be upset about it. Now, on the other side, it's not actually presumptuous at all to ask a human being for a meeting, like to be new at the organization. And this is why I love my 30, 60, 90-day plan when it's actually implemented properly, as in the first 90 days at your new role, because you can really set yourself up to have those conversations early on. And hey, it's not presumptuous. You're just the new guy, right? You're taking proactive measures. You're being a leader in how you show up at the organization, in how you're being perceived at this company, and you're not waiting until your performance review to begin advocating. So you're just reaching out to these leaders saying, hey, I want to get to know you. I just started working in XYZ department. I want to learn a little bit more about what you're working on. Can you schedule a 10 to 15 minute meeting with me? That's it. And I really recommend that you go high, right? As in the C-suite, SVP, these senior executive leaders, because they get it, right? They like talking about the work that they do. They're happy to meet with you. It doesn't even matter if you're at that director level or not. They're happy to have a single 10 to 15-minute conversation with you and then see how it goes, right? And so it's really important to do it anyway. And so when the woman on the call said, that's a bit presumptuous, and I was like, yeah, who cares, right? The reason why I say that is because, one, you have nothing to lose. You just want to learn about them. You're not scheduling the call again to say, hey, look at me. I'm really important. And I'm going to come in here and make all these changes. Look how awesome I am, right? Now, that would be a bit presumptuous. But instead, what you're doing is you're just saying, can we have a meeting? Not presumptuous at all, right? They control their own calendar. You're not beating down their door. You're not following up 10 times if they say no. You're just saying, hey, would it be possible? And then if they say yes, you actually get it on the calendar. That's when you follow up. You follow up with their assistant. You assume they actually meant yes. And you follow up. You put it on their calendar. The other thing that's not presumptuous is to have a follow-up conversation with them, right? So let's say the conversation goes really well. Part of my 15-minute ally meeting process, it just has 3 rules. And that third rule is you schedule the next meeting in the meeting, not afterwards, right? So imagine the presumptuousness of the meeting went well. You don't say anything at the end of the meeting. And then afterwards, 3 months later, you're like, hey, can we meet again? Right? That can feel very awkward to you. And maybe it comes off a little bit awkward to them. It's like you disappeared for 3 months and now all of a sudden you want to meet again. And so instead, what you're going to do is in that meeting, you're going to say, wow, this was a really great conversation. Can we do it again sometime? And they're like, yes, absolutely. They give you permission to schedule the meeting again. And then you actually put it on the calendar ahead of time, like 2 months ahead of time or whatever that might be. And so that you're actually following through on your word. It's not presumptuous, it's leadership, right? You're actually doing what you said that you would do. You're stepping into the role that you said that you would do, right? And so it's really important for us to take that distinction and not to play humble in the wrong areas, right? Like I'm going to wait and have them come to me. I hope that the meeting went really well and they actually care about me enough to follow up with me. No, these guys are busy. It's our job to follow up with them again, but why make the assumption that they don't want to? Like let them control their own calendar and then it's your job to follow up with them again. It's not presumptuous. It's just business, right? It's just leadership. And so when you can start to make this distinction and you can really ask yourself, oh my gosh, is this presumptuous or not? Is it like this is just a human being that I enjoyed? And if you enjoyed having the conversation with them, I guarantee they enjoyed it as well. They're looking forward to the next one. Now, are they thinking about you for the next 3 months and wondering, I wonder when Sarah's going to reach out to me again? No, that would be presumptuous. But instead, when you do get that meeting scheduled, they're like, oh, that's great, right? I was wondering when she was going to be on my calendar again. I look forward to meeting with her again, right? You see that distinction. And I think we're so worried, and rightfully so, of coming off as overconfident, brazen, and egotistical that we don't reach out at all. And then it hurts us in the end. And I think it's really important to be presumptuous in the right areas and in the right way. Another way that it came up in the conversation where I was like, yep, and that's going to feel presumptuous, but you're going to do it anyway, is let's say you have a meeting. And so now we're in the 30, 60, 90-day plan, and we sort of get into the 90 days part of it. And you're going to offer some advice or suggestions. That is not entirely presumptuous if done in the right way. So let me share with you the presumptuous side would be you never offered any suggestions. This person has never met with you before. And you'll be like, can I tell you what I think? Yeah, that's very presumptuous of you, right? Like, I don't know you. I don't care about what you think. You might have the best idea in the world, but I'm not going to listen to you. It's going to rub them the wrong way. So don't do that. Instead, what you've done is you've had 1 meeting or 2 meetings with this person, and then they keep bringing up the same theme. And, you can say to them in the 3rd meeting, you can say, hey, I've been thinking a lot about that thing that you brought up last month. And here's some things that I'm noticing. Can I offer like some observations, right? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I've been engaging in conversation with you already, right? So do you see the difference? And you have so many amazing ideas at your organization. You have so many things that you can change, so many things that you want to change, so many ways that you can help bring more, more money into the company, ways that you can help at the highest executive level. But you're either one, keeping it to yourself, or you're sharing it at the wrong time in the wrong ways that nobody can hear you. But if you're engaging in conversation with people over time, then you can ask or share. And of course, the person wants to help and support you, right? So you see where this presumption doesn't even come into play anymore. This happens a lot for women in their job search as well, right? So, what we'll do in some weird way is we'll go up to a person that we haven't met with in 5 years, and then we'll say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. Let me tell you this, do you have anything that you can give me?" Right? Like, I want to work on your team. And like, you haven't even talked to them in 5 years. They don't know what you're working on, what you're doing, or anything like that. But you say, "Hey, I want to work on your team." Right? So that's a big, huge ask. That's a big, 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 big ask. All of a sudden, it can be very presumptuous to just all of a sudden come out of the blue and start asking all of your first degree connections for job offers. Instead, what I teach is that you have a very nice, like almost passive conversation where you're having a back and forth conversation. You're reconnecting with that colleague and you're listening to them. Maybe they don't even mention that they're hiring anybody on their team, or they're not hiring anybody on their team. So you're not going to make the assumption that they are. You're not going to ask for a job on their team. But at some point you told them that you're looking for your next leadership role, whether that's because you're unemployed or not, it doesn't matter. You're looking for what's next for yourself, and you're just having a casual back and forth conversation. And it's really enjoyable. And this goes on for 10 or 15 minutes. And at the end, you insert, "Hey, do you know anybody else that I should speak with?" Not, "Do you know anybody else who can give me a job?" Not like, "Hey, can we put together a plan? Can you look at my resume? Can you read through my cover letters? Can you go out and find me a job?" I mean, that's the kind of energy that we're bringing into this conversation. We're like latching on to people. And so we're being presumptuous in the wrong ways. And instead you're saying, "Hey, is there anybody you can introduce me to?" Now, I could have the same woman on a call say, "Hey, that's pretty presumptuous." I'm like, "No, it's not at all." Can you see the difference? Like, even just listening to the way that I laid this out, you went back and forth, you gave value, you had a great conversation. And then at the end, you're just like, "Is there anybody else that you can introduce me to?" Like, not to give me a job, not because I need something from them, not because I'm, like I want to take them away from you, or I'm going to embarrass you. And I'm telling you right now, 103% of the time, they say yes, right? If you do it this way, you are not being egotistical, brazen, nothing. You are being a normal human being, having a normal human conversation. And then what's so beautiful about it is you're taking leadership, right? You're actually in the driver's seat, and it's very respectable, right? When you understand the rules of executive communication, which is really just normal conversation with people, where we're not like trying constantly to get something from them, but we're also willing to ask for help, then that's when these opportunities really come up for you, and people step up to the plate and they're like, "Oh my God, they just introduced me to 3 CEOs," right? Because we were being normal. And by normal, we're being authentically powerful. We're showing up, engaging in conversation. We're not being greedy. We're not being presumptuous. We're just saying, "Hey, I exist. I have things to offer this world. I'm reaching out to you because I respect you." We're having a mutual back and forth conversation. And I'm wondering if you know anybody else that you can introduce me to. They love that stuff. That is the best way that you can be presumptuous. Another example, so I'm gonna leave you with this because this comes up a lot, is negotiating salaries, right? So let's say that you get to the end of your interview process and they make you an offer. And you want to negotiate the salary. One, because you know that as a woman, you always get paid less. So you're like, well, I just probably should negotiate a salary. And the truth is that on the human resources side, they expect you to negotiate, right? They expect you, just like when you're buying a house, you don't have to take the first offer. You can say, hey, is there any room for negotiation? Now, they could say no, like this is a final offer, and that's fine. You have to either take it or leave it, right? That's fine. But they're not like, oh, they were very presumptuous to give me a counter offer, right? So this idea that we can't negotiate our salary when we're looking for a job, when we actually get the job offer is crazy, right? Like they're expecting it. It's the norm. Just do a counter offer. Now, here is a time, let me give you an example where I told a woman to just lay off a little bit. So, what she did is in the interview process, she kept negotiating, which is brilliant, right? She was able to negotiate a higher level role, a higher title. She was able to negotiate an earlier start date, and she was able to negotiate a bonus, right? So, all of these things just kind of like in conversation because of how she was showing up. She was showing up as that executive so that when they made her the offer, they had already taken all of that into consideration and they walked the talk. They gave her exactly what she asked for. Okay. So she had this complete package. Oh, the same thing could happen if you were advocating for a promotion, right? So you're having conversations with your boss about the title that you want and maybe even the salary bump that you want, and then they give it to you and they have matched what you've talked to them about. And now you want a counteroffer because, well, maybe because you're supposed to, or, oh gosh, maybe I lowballed myself just because I didn't think I was going to get it. And I would just say at that point, that's on you, right? Because during those conversations, maybe you did lowball yourself. Maybe you did not advocate for yourself, or you don't need to counteroffer when you've been counteroffering the entire time. So that's another red flag, a thing that you can look out for in negotiations. But otherwise, if you haven't counteroffered at all in the entire interview process, you're not getting a higher title than what was listed, you're not getting a higher salary than what was listed in the job description, go for it, right? Ask and put a question mark at the end. Is this negotiable, right? It's not being presumptuous, and they will definitely tell you no, right? They are more than happy to say, nope, that's all we can offer you. All right. So I hope this episode was helpful. I want you to go back and listen to it several times. I also want you to ask yourself, am I being presumptuous, or am I just having a normal human conversation, right? Am I acting like a leader, or am I being a little bit presumptuous and thinking that I'm entitled or that I deserve or that something is owed to me? Those are the markers that you can begin to ask yourself so that you can figure out for yourself what is the appropriate mode of communication going forward. I can't wait to see what higher salaries you're able to negotiate, what higher titles you're able to negotiate, what relationships you're able to use to open up doors for you, because we need your voice at the leadership table. The leadership table needs to change because you get there. All right. And that happens one promotion at a time. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Women Changing Leadership with Stacy Mayer. If you enjoyed this episode, you are absolutely going to love and benefit from the work that we're doing inside of the Women's Leadership Accelerator. This month-to-month membership program is unlike anything else in the market. We are single-handedly flipping the unemployment rates on their head. It is the only place on the internet where you can actually get yourself not only a job offer, but one that has a higher salary, a higher title, and more recognition and influence than you ever could have imagined in your career. Inside the Women's Leadership Accelerator, we are getting women promoted. We are getting them multiple higher level job offers. And I want that to happen for you. Join us in this one-of-a-kind program. You're going to get coaching directly from me, my executive mentors who are also hiring managers who are doing the work, who have worked with me personally for the past 3 to 5 years. We are here inside of this accelerator program to work with you personally to begin to elevate your leadership to that next level. This is exactly what you have been looking for, and I am here to deliver it to you. Best thing, it's month to month. So you can come in, join us, get access to all of my training materials, my weekly live interactive calls, and you can begin to bring your friends into this community. It is the most corporate badass community on the market. I can't wait to see you in there. Go to authenticallypowerfulwomen.com. We are changing the face of the leadership table one promotion at a time. I can't wait to see you there.